Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal and the ever-flowing waterfall of love in our background. We've got some real noise on our line today, but what can you do? I don't know. It's extraordinarily loud, and it's definitely coming from the host network. So I do apologize in advance if you have a lot of. Wow.
Wow.
Ask and you shall be given whatever the hell it is you ask for, I guess. But welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I am, of course, joined by my good friend and co-host, Mr. Don Longbeard. Welcome, Mr. Longbeard.
Hi.
That's all he's got
It's
right
a little
now.
lackluster. Don's not feeling good today.
Oh, my God. What a week, Don.
I know it's been, huh?
I tell you what, I am just like full on, I don't know, stressed, but I'm doing good now. I mean, everything's come together okay.
Right.
But, oh, my God, what a week.
I know, huh?
How's your week going first? Let's get into that, and I'll finish setting up the show notes here.
You know what? My week's been pretty okay, actually. It's just been, we've had rain, and then we've had garbage, and then it's just been a weird weather week, month. And then it got to Wednesday, and everything's just so beautiful and nice and hot and warm, and now it's like 90 degrees outside. And I was like, oh, my God. What the hell? We had to wait until July to get our... to get our summer. Max Matrix Assassin says chemtrails brought to you by Joint Base Lewis McCord. Mm-hmm.
I was just telling Don about this the other day too. It was like I was in my backyard, and I think it was on the 4th actually. It was on the morning of the 4th, and I look up. Actually, I'm taking care of watering some plants and stuff, and my little son, who's 2, almost 3, he'll be 3 in just a couple of weeks here. Actually a week, I guess. He said, "Dad, look at this. Look at Dad, look at." And I'm like, "What's he doing?" I turn, and he's looking up at the sky. And I'm like, "Oh, what is that?" And so I come out from under the tree, and I look up, and there is a jetliner going by way up high, and it's got a real long trail on it. And I'm like, "Oh, those bastards are going to make sure to dust us real good on the 4th of July." But then I kept watching, and it was like, wait a minute. It's fading off.
It's really a contrail.
It's a contrail. I mean, I was just absolutely excited. It was a contrail. I was like, oh, it's getting to be akin to seeing UFOs. It's like, wow, that's actually a contrail, kids. Pay attention.
No doubt.
So I was really excited to see that, and that was on the 4th. And I don't know if anybody else in our neighborhood witnessed that, but one thing I noticed is that we don't see a lot of chemtrails up here.
No.
Or what I would equate as chemtrails. I don't pretend to be an expert on it, but the airplane goes by and you have a trail behind them that turns into a wispy cloud and kind of spreads out, and
right.
But I think I was kind of considering this, and I'm like, why don't we have them as much? Because you see these pictures people are posting from other places, and it looks like somebody's just playing, with what are those damn things that have the 2 wheels?
Like the Etch-a-Sketch?
Etch-a-Sketch. It's like an Etch-a-Sketch up in the sky. And I'm like, wow, we don't get those up here, which is really cool. But I think it might have something to do with us being so close to the Canadian border. Is it, does it require an international kind of agreement to keep going past us?
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah, I mean, we're so close to the Canadian border here that maybe they can't chemtrail us real easily because it'll just drift away anyway. So maybe they're relying on the Canadians to dust us. I don't know, and therefore we don't even see them anyway. But
there you go.
Whatever the case is, I don't know. But here we are, ladies and gentlemen, and it has been a hell of a week. And just to give you a little insight, we were dead here in the studio. We had absolutely no internet, and it went on for days and days, and I kept calling the company, and I was like, I need the internet. I need it now. I need it like 5 minutes ago. Why isn't this fixed? Oh, and they apparently are short-staffed, and they said, well, you know what, we'll get someone out to you. I'm like, cool, that'll be great. When can I expect them? And they said, Tuesday.
That's next Tuesday.
I was like, game over. I was like, so I went like full meltdown. I'm like, no, that is not the right answer. We're gonna deal with this sooner than Tuesday. And they, I had to talk to about 5 people, and Then they promised me they would put me on an escalated list, that if somebody canceled out, and that they would bump me in. And it's like, well, so I'm just still hanging on a whim here, and it could still be Tuesday. That's not good enough. And we had to miss our Tuesday show, of course, because we had no internet and there was no hope of getting any. And I mean, I did everything I could. And then Wednesday, of course, was 4th of July, so nobody's going to show up and help you then, because everybody's doing 4th of July, which they should. I don't begrudge them that. But then Thursday came, and I was like, oh my God. So I called him.
He's going through withdrawals.
I called him 3 times on Thursday, and I kept giving him the spiel, like, this is what I do. This is what I need.
Oh, your monitor. Oh, everything's going. What the hell? Oh boy.
I'm telling my story. Quit interrupting. Thank you. Okay.
Stopped.
You gotta talk sense to him. So, I just want to get through this story and this episode, please. Thank you very much. Oh, don't be a dick. All right, thank you. So I called him on Thursday 3 times, and I'm like, no, we need this now. I need this now. This is what I do. Ladies and gentlemen, what's happening is actually one of my monitors is absolutely, both of my monitors are tripping out, coming on and off and chirping, and it's absolutely maddening. The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you. So, what the hell?
Deb says they're just saying hello.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to tell them what... I'm just going to be friendly. I'm going to say hello back. Thanks for being here for the portal. You bastards. But, all right, it seems to... They've made their presence known. Thank you very much for stopping in.
Oh, goodness.
Anyway, so my monitors are flickering like this, and that's never, ever happened before. So that's a first. It used to be just the one monitor, and now they're both hopscotching back and forth. And oh my God, it's pretty funny. I gotta give it that. But as far as the bad timing awards, let's nominate whomever this is. So anyway, we're gonna continue. Maybe I shouldn't. What's somebody saying? Maybe you shouldn't tell the story. It's about my connection, though. It's kind of important. It was my whole week of stress and strain, and so I basically I kept harassing them, and they finally made somebody come over and do it. And it turned out to be the supervisor that had to show up, the field tech supervisor. Mm-hmm. And he came over here today, and he was a really nice guy. I got to hand it to him. A real pleasant guy, real engaging and wonderful. And I was like, dude, you got to help me out. I need to be online. I need to get going, and this has got to get fixed. And he's like, yeah, let's look at it. And we went out and tested the box, and he tested the line. He's like, man, you're totally dead. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, there's nothing. I even went to the store and bought a new router.
Oh, God.
A new router because one of the techs that I talked to on the phone was like, well, you might have a bad router, and what you can do is go over to Walmart, and I'm not actually officially telling you this, but go over to Walmart, and you can get a router, and, hook it up and give us a call, and we'll make sure to enable it for the line just to see, because then we'll know whether it's your router or not. So I went and got another router, but, if you're signed up with an internet company, you pay like a rental. Right. Every month for that equipment. Right. And I was like, I'd rather own it anyway. So I just got another router and called them, and of course that wasn't it. But I told the guy, I was like, I went out and got my own router. I went out into my junction box outside of my house, opened it, clipped open the little plastic ring, opened it, and had an enormous wasp nest in there about the size of my fist with a bunch of really unhappy wasps. And so it was me and a long broomstick, and I was doing like Jedi battle with these things. I killed their Death Star, and they were pissed, but they finally flew away. I got in there, I took off all the connections, I reconnected it. I did everything I could, and I was like, I've done all these things. I need to be online. He's like, yeah, you're just totally dead. And then it was my wife who said, I think I saw someone up on the pool a couple days ago. It was like, and it dawned on me that my neighbor moved out. And so he had, I assume he had cable too. So I'm like, hey, is it possible that they moved out, canceled their service because they moved, and you guys shut off the wrong house. He's like, you know what? Let me go check. And he got in his bucket, went into the alley behind the house, got up in his bucket, went up there, and immediately he's like, yep, that's what happened. So I was shut off by accident, and as soon as he plugged us back in, we were good to go. So that's my my marathon week. But I was really nervous that I wouldn't be able to get here and do the show for you guys and for me, because this is a really important part of what I do. And of course, this is something I love dearly. So usually just going from Saturday till Wednesday was a stretch, but then not being able to get here until today was just agony. And Don and I, of course, are playing phone tag. Hey, you heard anything yet? I don't know. You know, we're back and forth, not sure what's going on. But here we are. The portal is live. We are thrilled to be here with you guys. Thank you guys for being here with us and being a part of what we do. So
the chaos merry-go-round.
Yeah, and thanks for putting up with us, because you know, we certainly need this in our lives. It completes us.
Cathartic.
It's cathartic. I love that word. That's a word I got to try to use more, because it sounds so damn smart. You know what I mean? It's one of those words somebody says it, it's like, ooh, cathartic.
Ooh, who knows what that means?
I don't even know what it means, but it sounds cool. So let's see how many of you are out there listening to us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. There are 3,061 of you on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and I don't have numbers for TalkStream Live, so there's more than that actually listening to us. And, of course, there are those of you in YouTube who are with us tonight. There's about, how many are you showing? I got 14.
I see 13, but I need to... And the picture on their end is kind of blurry. How's that picture right there?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. That just, they don't really give us a real solid render. But are you seeing that on your end, too?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
Well, it seems to be fading in and out.
Okay. Well, it could be. I mean, the stream health is good. So we are good to go, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, what I want to do with you is do some... We've been getting a few listener emails in, and I just love these, and I wanted to save them for a show. And I can't think of a better night to go through these than tonight with you guys. Things that some of you have chosen to write in about. Mm-hmm. And first of all, I know Danielle had posted something on the Paranormal Portal about orbs, because she put kind of a
she did, yeah,
a question out there about people. Let me read what she actually posted. Because I wasn't able to get on at all, so she did a meme. I can't even read it right now, but I'll have to. She said, "While the cats are away, the mice will play." Well, while Brent and Don are not as online as they would like to be, how about a question? How many of our paranormal peeps have experienced orbs? Please share your stories. And we've got a couple of cool responses in. And one is from a listener and a follower named Ron. He said, "Only in photos for me. Took some pictures on the St. Joseph Cemetery on Highway 53 in Spokane Valley, and they were all over the place." And that's really cool. Of course, cemeteries are very active places generally. There's usually something lurking in pretty much any cemetery, I think. I mean, they're clearly powerful places, because being the final resting place of so many spirits, and there's probably quite a few that choose to linger because they have unfinished business. So I think there has to be some kind of a tether between them being on this plane and their body. So that's why I think cemeteries are active. And Deb, of course, Deborah Varner, our Paranormal Portal psychic, says, "Whenever I go on an investigation and pinpoint a spirit, I grab a pic where they are to see if anything shows up." And she's got many orb pictures. And that's really cool, but it kind of helps to have that extra sense radar to pinpoint it. So that's really cool. And thank you both for sharing those. I did get another one by message, and I wanted to read that if I could. It's rather long, but I thought it was really cool. Let's see. All right, it says, I went to get a drink of water, and in the dark, I got this weird electric feeling, hair standing up, goosebumps, and the like. The room started to glow blue. I'm hearing a hum behind me, and from under the floor is arising a blue orb that shot out rather fast. I moved to dodge, as it seems that it was trying to get to touch me, but it was orbiting like static cling. I'd move and it would orbit. I knocked over the dishes in the drainer. It sounded like a a lightsaber helicopter combo. Vroom, the sound it made. Then the thud of ditches falling over. The hum was pulsating lightsaber with helicopter type repetition. Did so. He said I did some Matrix moves trying to avoid it. And I finally got enough distance that I ran for the living room and jumped over the couch and hid behind it for a few. Then I smoked like half a pack of cigs, trying to calm down. In hindsight, I think I should let the orb touch me. At the time, I was familiar with will-o-wisps. Locally across the valley, I see brown/orange orbs come from the mountains. Release plasma, I guess, but this was blue and seemed to be after me personally. As it was coming up behind me and was turning blue, I seen it in the kitchen window as a reflection, and that's when I decided to turn so it wasn't at my back. It didn't startle me so much as puzzle me and give me a workout, tiring me out. So that's a cool encounter story for sure, and that's about as real 3D as you can get, I guess.
Doing Matrix moves, huh?
That's what he said, doing Matrix moves.
Nice.
Yep, he went full on Neo. he busted out some Neo on that orb, but and I've shared my orb stories, and
right.
They were really cool too. I don't know what necessarily they are. If they are a deceased person, then that's one of the manifestations they have, or if they are some more of an elemental kind of thing. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what they are, but I know that they're incredibly, they're incredibly breathtaking when you see one in person, because it's just, for me, it was more like a sun, like a little sun. But this individual saw one blue-colored. Now, I've heard many blue-colored ones out in the wild, too. And so I wonder if the color has something to do with their orientation.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could very well be. I don't know. But interesting nonetheless. So anyway, those are those two. And now I want to get to some of these listener emails. I feel like I'm forgetting something. I don't know. It's been so long that I almost don't. I just don't almost know how to do this.
It's been almost a week since we've been here. Oh my God.
I know. It's almost like I don't know how to do this anymore, Don.
I know. I understand.
Wild. So we did read Monty's when Bear was on, and I wanted to do that because I felt that was the proper place to air that one. But we have one here from listener Dory.
Oh, Dory. Oh, yes.
Now, this one's rather long too, but let me see what we got for time here, because I don't want to get up against a break and try to... Oh, we got 8 minutes. I think I can get through this in 8 minutes. So this is from Dory. Here's one for the portal. I went to a family reunion up in the Meadows this past weekend. I was thrilled to see so many extended family members, some I hadn't seen since 1990. I stayed with my uncle and aunts, and they have a cabin on a golf course there. I slept on a hideaway bed that sits on a small foyer that leads to 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. The first night was so incredibly tired that I fell off to sleep rather quickly, probably about the time my head hit the pillow. That is tired. Second night, everyone went to bed around the same time. My uncle and aunt, along with their dogs in their room, my cousin and her husband, little girl and dog in the other. Both couples had their doors closed, and as soon as I settled into bed, I got comfortable, and I got this strange feeling like I wasn't alone in the foyer. I told myself to chill out. It was my imagination. I was tired, but kept getting this weird feeling. I closed my eyes and tried to concentrate on emptying my mind and of all its random thoughts. I was having a tough time relaxing, even though I was tired. I have no idea how long I laid there before I started into a light slumber. I became aware that there was someone walking in the foyer. They were kind of small steps, heavy, like someone walking hard on their heels. I wondered if it was my cousin's little girl. I hadn't been sure if she was actually in the bedroom with her mom and dad, or in the bunkhouse room with with her older brothers on the other side of the house. I relaxed back into slumber, and it started again. This time it became more constant, and I became a little fearful. But I was really feeling the effects of my sleepiness, so I remained settled. Once again, I have no idea how much time had passed, but I became aware that my bladder was full. I ignored it, didn't want to get up. I was warm, comfy, and so tired. In the meantime, there's that walking again, but I'm trying to ignore that too. All of a sudden, whatever it was hit the frame of the bed with enough force that there was no ignoring any longer. My eyes flew open, and up I got to head to the bathroom. My heart was pounding. I noticed the door was open to my cousin's room, but nobody was stirring inside of there. It couldn't have been their daughter, and it surely wasn't their black lab dog. Her nails do a light click-a-tat on the wood floor. I came to the bathroom, and I had a knotted feeling in my stomach, so when I got into bed, I began praying for the negativity to leave. And I also declared that I didn't want any other spiritual presence around me that wasn't of God. I fell back to sleep while affirming my prayers and didn't hear another thing all night. When I woke up Sunday morning, everyone but my cousin was already up and having coffee. We were having an early morning brunch with the rest of the family due to arrive any time. I took notice to the dog, and sure enough, when she walked across the floor, her nails lightly tapped across the wood. I asked where my cousin's daughter had slept. She hadn't slept in the same room as her parents. I asked my cousin's husband if he had heard anything. He hadn't, but made mention of the bedroom door being open. I told him it was open when I went to the bathroom. I didn't mention anything to my uncle or aunt. Too many people were there, and I'm pretty sure my uncle would have dismissed anything related to the paranormal. I don't know any history of the cabin other than they purchased it about 5 years ago, and it was a foreclosure sale. The former owners apparently had trashed the place, and my uncle and aunt have put a lot of work into fixing up to its present beauty. I can't help but feel that they have occupants that they can't see, and that I definitely heard.
Wow.
That's an awesome story.
Wow.
Very true. Very cool. That's got to be a little disheartening to be sleeping or almost asleep and hear that footstep stuff. I mean, that's creepy.
Well, she mentioned the clickety-clacker of the dog's toes, the claws, and my dogs do that too, but then they'll be all the way downstairs and they'll keep me awake all freaking night. I'll be like, oh, God.
Don, you could be startled awake by a mosquito. You sleep so light.
I know, huh? This is a speck of dust.
Yeah, I keep getting hit by dust, damn it.
I think I saw an orb. Your eyes are closed. I think I saw an orb.
Could be. They're out there.
I don't know.
All right, now this is from a listener. Well, I should look at the time here. Let me see where we're at. I got 3 minutes. Maybe I'll hold this one off until
Sure.
after we come back. I'll see if I got a shorter one. If there's anything quicker. Nope, this one's pretty good.
That's
too.
nice. It's nice to have some.
Yeah, and Ian's, of course, is huge.
We'll get to yours after the break, Ian.
Well, it's Sean's, but it's a link to his blog, and it's absolutely enormous. We may only read a portion of that. I'm not sure. We'll just have to see how it goes. But, I mean, I'm sure it's amazing and a great story. And, of course, Sean shared some of his history with us when he was on the show.
Yeah.
But, definitely worth a read again. Mike, I already looked at his. Oh, I got 2 of them. Okay. And then Monty. Yeah, so we will pick these up again on the other side because I don't want to rush any of these before the break. What?
So we have a magazine. It's a free magazine. It's called Sandpoint Magazine or something to that effect.
Okay.
Anyhow, Julia last week was telling me about this story that was in there about Sasquatch, and it was written by. Well, she was down on like the St. Joe or the St. Mary River. I can't remember which, but
is that near here?
Yeah. It's just a little south. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty geographically challenged.
Anyhow, but anyhow, I have it out in my pickup, but I forgot to bring it in. I was gonna kind of read that, but it does say that Bonner County is #1 in sightings of Bigfoots and Sasquatches,
and that's our county
in Idaho. Yeah, so
that's here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she. So we talked about it a lot when Jim was on, when Bear was on,
mm-hmm.
And the next morning I go to work and there's this magazine sitting on this seat with my name on it.
Oh, nice.
It's from Julia. I'm like, oh, cool, okay.
Very
Thanks,
cool.
Julia. I did read it, by the way.
Awesome.
I meant to get it and read it, but I've been running backwards today. Wow.
Maybe you can get it over break.
Yeah, I could probably see what I could do.
Yeah, just a thought, but that's pretty cool. And I know there's some sightings from this area on the BFRO, but most of them, as far as I know, are old. So I don't know where people are reporting.
Well, and that's where, and that's they reference the BFRO in that. Yes.
In that article?
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, it'd be interesting to see what it says. But yeah, I mean, this is one of the attractions for me moving to this area. One of the perks was the fact that, I mean, this is part of the Pacific Northwest. This is where it all kind of began, and as far as a national understanding and recognition of this phenomenon, of this creature. So I can hear the bell. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back in a couple minutes. Don't go away, and we'll continue our journey into these listener emails here on the portal. Be right back. And ladies and gentlemen, I guess we're back. I don't know what's going on with the studio, but with the bumper music is not working, but I'm watching the timer. So I came on air when it said I'm on the air. So I got that going for me. But welcome back, everybody. Hope you guys are doing wonderful and having a great weekend, a great start to your weekend. Happy weekend, by the way. I guess I neglected to say that before, but are you not working?
Hello.
I changed your mic cord today and everything.
All right, maybe it's not the mic. Go ahead and mute me. Oh,
Go ahead and mute you.
no, it's-
Okay, you're muted. It is muted. Kiss him for luck.
all right.
All right, let's hear.
Hey,
That's much better.
it's got to be the microphone then.
It's got to be, I guess.
It's got to be the microphone.
Well, it's good to know because I guess I was thinking that. Well, no, that's actually worse
Yeah, well,
because I was thinking, well, gee, that cable didn't look like it was in bad shape, but actually, I'd rather replace a cable than a microphone.
yeah, no doubt.
But you got to do what you got to do. The show must go on, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what we at the Portal are dedicated to. So, so far so good. It looks like all cylinders are firing as they should be here on the Portal. So that's good. I don't want to jinx anything, so I'm not going to mention any problems specifically, but because about the minute you put it out there is when things start popping again.
Exactly. Dory said she caught the last of his story, though. So.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Dory, welcome, and thanks again for submitting that story. That was wonderful. That's a great encounter story. I'd actually love to hear, more of the things you've experienced. So, and ladies and gentlemen, anything you guys have experienced out there and would like to submit to the show for to share, I would be honored to receive your stories. You can email them to paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. So make sure you get paranormalportalradio, all one word, and then at gmail.com, and we'll be happy to share your experiences as well. Because again, to me, those are the strongest experiences. Those are the first person accounts. That's right from the source. And it doesn't get any more real than that. I mean, when we find stuff to share with you from out in internet land, the interwebs, we have no concept of source or anything, and I certainly don't have the time nor energy to research each story we share, to try to validate its authenticity. And at the very least, if they are a bit fictional, it does speak to possibilities, and the big thing about the paranormal is it's all possibilities. Everything's on the table, because and any of these stories, any of these tales, the truth of them is phenomenal. I mean, it's absolutely breathtaking that things happen that are so far out of the realm of what we understand to be possible. So, and it should expand our ideas of reality, and it does for me personally. That's one of the reasons I love the paranormal, is because it totally chips away at the mundane,
Mm-hmm.
at the normal. It's paranormal. It's above normal or beyond normal, or however you want to define that. And so, when we find stories, they may or may not be true, but when they come from you guys, I'm going to believe every word you put on the page.
Yep.
I'm going to believe every word you email to me because I believe in you guys. I don't think that, I guess if you want to pull one over on me and write a bunch of crap, that's, it's your call. I'm still going to believe you because I don't have any reason to doubt you guys. So I'll put it out there and let the audience be the final judge, I guess. But I think they're amazing stories. So let's get into more of these. We got more to go through. So let's get into DRs. D&R Dismang is a new person that's just found us recently here on the Portal, and it's really cool. They've been totally checking out so many episodes and commenting, and it's really been cool to to hear what they have to say and things that they're responding with. And I think there was a story they posted on one of our stories, and I I'm glad that they emailed these in, because of course it's on the fly like this. I guess I just remembered that they had submitted something on one of the videos, but I'm glad that they emailed these, because these of course are quicker to reference. But let me read this story these stories, and it's Weird Stuff in Northern Wisconsin is the title of the email. So they're from Northern Wisconsin. Since moving into our northern Wisconsin home, we have experienced some weird stuff. Like, my husband has been woken up with a woman's voice in his ear asking him, "Who are you?" I was awake in the middle of the night trying to fall back to sleep when I heard what sounded exactly like a person clapping their hands together real hard. I looked around and saw nothing. My husband hadn't moved at all. No weird smells as far as electricity pop. You know how you smell that ionized kind of air when something electrical goes bonkers? It's like I expect to smell any moment in this studio, but
what's that? Oh, it's paranormal power.
yeah, it's the
Man,
portal.
they're cutting us off again.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, no weird smells as an electrical pop. My older daughter always felt like something was watching her from her window, or her doorway, and would sometimes wake up feeling something was biting the middle of her back. Oh, jeez, that'd be horrible.
No doubt.
I will sage the house whenever it starts to feel a little funky, or we start having those weird, upsetting dreams. Excuse me. Only one night, during a thunderstorm, we were woken by a horn going off, and I looked out the window but saw nothing. It stopped, and I went back to bed, and I was woken again by a horn. I wonder if there had been an accident and someone needed help. Then I realized that the horn was coming from our backyard where our old Leprechaun RV was parked. My husband and I rushed out in the dark, wind whipping, the rain sideways. He looked in and saw nothing. He opened the hood and pulled the wires to stop the horn, and it totally creeped us out. We held each other close for the rest of that night. I'll bet. Wow, that's creepy. We have seen strange things in the sky. A few years ago, we all saw what looked like, I can only say, it reminded me of Chinese depictions of dragons. Way up in the sky, and there seemed to be balls of light shooting out from them. Weird, I know. One night, after watching Donnie Darko with the kids, I went outside to stargaze and looked out to the west and saw what my mind perceived as several stars moving towards the west. I could not figure out what I was seeing, but it was moving fast up in space. I had never seen anything like it before, and so my brain had trouble identifying it. I still have no idea what it was. One year we kept noticing lights across the bay that appeared to be a ring and had to be pretty far from us. One night I stood for like 20 minutes staring at them thinking, do something, when suddenly all the lights went out. There was no glow. I gotta mute you again, Don. There was no glow like when you turn off a light and see residual light, and these lights had to be huge, and they all went out at once. And were there, and then poof, they weren't. My husband was driving home from work one night at around 11 p.m., and I saw an orb of light that he described. Yep, you're live, Don.
I see that.
Okay.
Sorry. There we go.
That he described as being bigger than a full moon. And it was not the moon. He was tempted to stop and try to check it out, but didn't want to risk some weird freaky abduction or lost time scenario. My hat's off to you. I totally understand that. Those are a few of the experiences we have had up here over the last few years, including the story I told you about on our little daughter seeing the little man in her chair.
Oh, yeah. I remember you reading that, yeah.
So I did read that on the show, right?
Well, I don't know if you read it on the show, but we read it maybe after the show. That's right.
That's right, yeah. I'll have to see if I can find that, because that was a really cool story, too. Yeah, she posted it on Robin's. Let me see if I can pull that up quick, because it was on the episode where Robin Muchetta was on. Can you pull it up?
Yeah,
yeah. Please do that, and I'll let you read that one, because I love you that much.
Oh, gee, thanks, Brent.
Of course. All right, so those are some great stories, and thank you so much for submitting them to the show. We sure appreciate it, and it's amazing to hear what you guys out there are experiencing. That just makes it all the more real to me. Did you find it?
I'm almost there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm almost ready to let you read it. I'm gonna say let you. I'm sounding like Puffy up in here. I'm gonna let you finish, Don.
I'm gonna let you. You best to get it. I don't know what the hell that means, but okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All
right, you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Read more.
Read more.
No, that's not what it. That's not on that one.
It's not?
No, it's unless I'm missing part of the conversation here. On this one, I totally agree with you about the existence. I think this is
okay.
No, it's not this one.
Oh, I thought it was on Robin's. Maybe not. Let me look. Let me look here.
Pygmies.
It's got to be on my. It's got to be in my history of messages here if I can pull it up. It's chewing. It's spitting. Let me close this one. It's dogging a little bit. That's weird.
Ghost Encounters Part 1.
We're just reading softly to ourselves.
Reading too softly.
What the hell?
I don't know.
I'm not getting. Look at this. I mean, when you usually click this, it'll pull up all the messages. I guess I could go in here, and I could go here, and then I could go here.
And there? Can you go there?
I can, but I don't know. It might take me a while to find it here. We've been getting so much participation.
I know, it's been
on
awesome.
the YouTube channels. It's been great.
Yeah, it's been great.
It has.
Ooh, Linda's at 1,049 views already.
Oh yeah. Her. Okay. Oh yeah, that's the one you just read. Yeah, Linda's episode has just flown, setting new records on the portal as far as viewers and such. So that's really cool. But I don't know. We'll get to the other story as soon as we can find it. But thanks again for sending that in. Pretty awesome. Okay, so this is from let's see, MCAT, one of our listeners, MCAT.
MCAT.
On YouTube. Is he in there?
I don't think so. I haven't.
Okay, you haven't seen him?
No.
I'm sorry. I should have probably let him know. I should have let everybody know I was going to do this tonight, but I didn't have internet, so I couldn't really plan ahead.
Yeah,
so
seat of the pants kind of thing.
I know.
Tonight.
It was like, I didn't even know if we were going to have a show. And, of course, now we have a show, and this is what I decided to do with it.
Now we're just lost.
Yeah, so this is from MCAT, who's a YouTube viewer and person that loves to take part in the chats, and a real nice guy as far as I can tell. So let's read what happened to him. Gentlemen, here are a few stories of my experiences. This happened around 2008 in the winter. My wife and I were driving home after a date night, so it would have been around 11 or 12. We used to live in a small town in the middle of nowhere, and the nearest town was 5-minute drive. We had passed this town and were on the 5-minute drive home when I saw a person walk right out of the ditch, hands up, trying to get our attention. He was male, early 30s, with a brown cap, brown gloves, and a dark coat. I began to slow down when my wife got hysterical and said, "Don't stop." I sped up and pulled off on the shoulder about a mile down the road and called 911. 15 minutes later, a sheriff pulled up and we told him what he had saw, and he drove down back up the road we just came from, lights flashing, and had a security light aimed at the ditch. If there was someone in trouble, they would have seen that, but there was no one. The sheriff drove back to where we were and said he didn't see anything. We drove home and got ready for bed, and we were in bed for 30 minutes or so when we heard a loud bang on our bedroom window. Oh, geez, that'd be horrible. My wife started to freak out and said, "He followed us." So I got up and grabbed my rifle and headed to the security light on that side of the house. I turned on the light and readied my rifle, but there was nothing. Then I looked on the snow next to our window, and there were no tracks.
Oh.
So that is way creepy. Oh, my God. This is the strangest... This is the strangest experience I've ever had, and still can't make heads or tails of it. Now, this is the next one he's referring to. Mm-hmm. This happened around 93. My wife and I were living in a small apartment. She had fallen asleep on the couch in the living room, and I was in the bedroom. I awoke to her screaming, "Come help me right now, I'm in trouble," screaming. I threw the covers off, ran down the hall, turned right, and saw my wife on the couch screaming, and at the end of the couch was something made of light, brilliant white light. I stood there at the end of the hall looking at this when it made a gesture and a beam of light shot out and hit me in the face. It was physical. I felt something hit me, and then I woke up, bolted straight up in bed, and I walked down to the hall and saw my wife sleeping peacefully on the couch. I have no idea what this was or if it even happened.
That's crazy.
That is way crazy.
That's nuts.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So a light just came and hit him right in the face, huh?
Yeah, it's like like an astral projection kind of thing, right?
Yeah, sure.
Is what I would probably say that he was somehow astrally projected. And I don't know if his wife has any recollection of a similar experience or not that she
Right.
experienced.
That'd be weird.
That would be weird. That's totally bizarre. Wow.
There's the thunder.
Was that what it
That's
was?
thunder. Yep.
Huh.
Thunderstorms. That's what happens when you have such a weird barometer.
We've been having really strange weather up here, that's for sure.
That is true.
There's something shifting in our world, ladies and gentlemen. Very cool, but thanks, MCAT, for sending those in. Very cool.
Absolutely. Hey, I did find that one from DNR.
Oh, please.
Yeah, it's actually on the archive from TFR that I put out. The last one I did.
Right.
It's the little things that matters, and that
Right.
was about fairies. So that's why you
That's
remember
where I
his
made that
little paper,
correlation.
yeah.
Yep.
So it says, one day I walked past my daughter's room. She was 4 years old. She had been taking a nap. I noticed her sitting up. She was staring wide-eyed, and her little body was shaking hard. I went to hold her and comfort her. I asked her what was wrong. She told me that there was a little man sitting in a child-sized pillow chair in her room. I moved the chair out of her room and out loud asked whatever it was to leave her alone because she was so scared. And there you go. So
Yeah, that's bizarre.
yeah, definitely weird stuff, and it's just little things like that. Sure, you can tell us. Okay, she never saw the little man again, but we have experienced many strange things in the house. We live close to Lake Superior and are near the Red Cliff Reservation, where there are many anomalies. But as I've said before, people are so reticent about their experiences. I personally love hearing real people's story. I'll send you more stories as soon as I can. So there you go. So yeah, craziness.
Yeah, it's really cool though, and I love those stories. I love everything we've read tonight.
Yeah,
It's just been really cool. I mean, that just shows you that we're all kindred spirits here in the portal. There's no
Right.
question. We all have some kind of experiences that are hard to understand or hard to explain. So this is our support group.
You are our support group.
We are a support group.
It's Paranormal Portal Anonymous.
Yeah. So now here. I think this is another one from MCAT. Yeah. Here are a few more stories.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, it's part 2. I love it.
Dun dun.
This is awesome. I just love this. This is, like I've said many times, this is the idea of the portal that I had way back when, was people sharing their experiences. And I guess I could probably check the call board once in a while. I've forgotten about that, but like I said, I'm kind of out of practice. And if you guys want to call in and share your experiences right now, the phone lines are open. It's 213-233-3998. Again, 213-233-3998. I'll do my best to check it, so I apologize. If anybody has tried to call in tonight, I just kind of zoned it out because,
It's been a long week.
it's been a hell of a week. Yeah. And honestly, I mean, seriously, it's like my rhythm is off now
Yeah.
doing the show just because of everything I've been going through. And then to have such a long period again, it's like, wait, what do I do? How do I do this? It sounds really far-fetched, but I'm telling you, I'm a creature of habit, and when anything happens to disturb my rhythm, it throws me off on a huge way. So I'm just doing my best here to stay grounded and stay connected. But yeah, we're doing good. All right, nobody's on the call board. If you're calling from the UK, again, it's 44203-393-2871. Again, 44203-393-2871. And you can always call if you're in the U.S. If you don't want to do the 213 number, you can always call 833-TFR Live. That will get you here, too.
Oh, goodness. Pardon me. Sorry.
You're okay. You've earned a few yawns.
Thank you.
You've been running all day. All right, here are a few more stories. This is again from MCAT again. I was a paranormal investigator for 6 years, and the most active investigation our group was on was a middle school in northeastern Iowa. This place had been a middle school for the last 100 years. It was a large building with 3 levels and an auditorium. I was setting up my audio when I heard what sounded like a plastic cooler being slid across a concrete floor to the right. We had 2 coolers for drinks and snacks, but they weren't moving. I wrote that I heard what I heard down in my notes and walked up to the second floor to the teacher's lounge when we were setting up shop. We started our briefing when Dan, our group's founder, stopped and walked into the hallway. He walked back in and said he heard what sounded like heavy furniture being moved a floor below us. I said, let's make sure we're the only ones in here. So I grabbed another investigator and walked the halls and all 3 floors. No one was found. All through the night, we heard sounds that moved around and couldn't be traced to one location. At one point, we heard sounds that led us in circles when we followed them. When I went through my audio, I found several EVPs,
Wow.
some intelligent, some residual. The intelligent EVP happened when I was working with my radio, to which it said, keep it on one channel.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
That's awesome.
Stop letting the spirit box go. Just keep it on a channel. I'll talk with you.
Yeah.
I want to talk.
That's awesome.
That's crazy, though.
That's so profound because it was obviously observing what was happening and participating in that process.
Yeah, no doubt.
That is really cool. Very cool. And this is the second one he sent in. He said, this happened when I worked in the surgery center of a major hospital. My
Oh,
God,
wow.
he's done everything. 05 through 13. Okay. Every once in a while, I would be asked to pull a third shift overnight. And I didn't mind because there was extra pay. The job was simple. Get cases ready for the next day and assist rooms if they have a case they're working. One night, I'm doing my job, getting cases ready, and I heard from one of the rooms someone yelled my name loud. I ran over to where I heard it, but no one was there. I walked over to the nurses' lounge and asked if they had called me, but no one had. I went back to working and heard my name called again. Again, I ran over to where I heard it, but there was no one there. Again, I went to the nurses' lounge and asked if they had called me, but they hadn't. I went back to work and heard my name called. This time, I walked to the nurses' station and asked what's going on. When I told them about hearing my name, they all knew about it and said, yeah, that happens sometimes.
Huh. How did it's just nonchalant. Yeah, that happens. It's all right.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
it's like, wow, that's pretty powerful.
Craziness.
You know,
I'd freak out.
would you?
And in a position like that, you have to answer every time, though, because you know,
Yeah.
you know, it's like the nurses. Are they running over there? Nancy, what?
What? Yeah, exactly. You can't ignore it
because it may be legit.
yeah, the one time you do, it's like,
Yeah,
no,
it's like,
screw you.
Somebody died last night. On your watch,
Nancy, why didn't you go get that code?
Oh, my
That's
goodness.
terrible. But yeah, it's one
That's
of those things you
crazy.
don't want to do it wrong. Okay, and of course we read Monty's. So now we're at Ian's, but again, Ian's is quite long, or Sean's. But let me pull up the page here and see. This is going to be, this would be nearly a whole show all by itself, because it's,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, I'm just scrolling down now, ladies and gentlemen, and it's profoundly well written and it's very informative.
Send me the link, and I'll post it in the YouTube and the TFR chat.
Okay, well, I can probably read a section of it anyway, but I will do that, of course, because
Sweetly.
it's all participation. All right, where the hell are you?
I'm right here.
Where are
baby.
you, Don?
Been right here since like.
You
5
need to
minutes.
message me more often so your name is like in here somewhere. There you are. I found you. I got to scroll way down to find yours. You don't message me enough, Don. It
Sorry.
hurts my feelings, and it makes sending you links hard.
Oh,
But that's just because I know you care.
it's a hard knock life.
Yeah, it's
for
really
you.
good to be back. It's really good to be back. Didn't you miss it this last one?
Yeah,
this last...
I did. But you know what? I was busy barbecuing for you, and
You
your
did really well, by the
family.
way. I just wanna say it
That
was.
potato salad was pretty smoking awesome.
Well,
too.
thank you very
Oh,
much.
you're welcome.
It's family recipe, of course.
Yes.
Top secret recipe.
Top
at that.
secret, yes. So I'm sitting there, I'm getting the pork ready to put on the grill, right? And Brent's like, "Oh, you can go ahead and just mix that up here." I said, "No, I've already pre-mixed it. I brought it pre-mixed to your house." And I patted it out, and he's like, "You're gonna need more. Here, what do you need?" Like, I don't need more. Look,
Well, I'm just trying to help.
got that nice dry rub on there.
Don, you got a secret recipe too. See, we're going both ways here.
Yeah, well, hey.
It is really amazing though. That dry rub is just out of control.
It's just nothing. It's nothing special. I mean, I just have the only thing special about it is I have a specific chili that I use, chili powder.
Okay. Well, that's good.
And it's like burn your brain out chili powder, so I don't have to use a whole lot of it, so I got a lot of it.
Yeah,
left.
I've got to say that you know, in having them and in tasting them, they're certainly not like spicy.
Yeah, well, they're not. Yeah, exactly. It's just got a little bit of kick to it. That's all it's supposed to have. You know, you're supposed to have that sweet and savory, not the sweet and oh my God, where's the lake? I got to drown my head. You know,
Sweet and oh my God, I need an ambulance. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Okay, so where are we at on the clock here? Okay, we actually are going to be going to our next
Sweet.
break, our hour break, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
We're burning through the night here, but we're going to get into Sean's blog when we come back. And again, if you have a story of your own that you'd like to share, now's the time, because we are standing by and able to take phone calls. Of course, on our Friday, Saturday shows, we can take phone calls. Hey, there's the bumper music.
Hey!
At least I heard the laugh. Oh, there's the bell.
All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in just a minute here, so don't go away.
Truth freak number one.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping stars across my heart. Raging anger pours inside me as their lies keep falling apart. With my silence, I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed.
Make it T.
Truth Frequency Radio.
So we're still muted on TFR because for some reason those bumper musics aren't playing as they're supposed to, or at least we're not hearing them. But I'm talking to you, those of you that are on YouTube. So hang in there.
We're almost there.
We're almost there. I got to unmute you, Don. There you go.
Oh, hey. Yeah, we're almost there. Hang in there.
Hang in there. Don't go away.
Don't go away.
Be just a moment or two. We'll be right along quickly. Or directly, I guess.
Well, Dawn in TFR says she can hear the bumper music. So.
Oh, she can? Okay. Well, excellent. I guess they're hearing it on TFR.
Oh, hey.
Hey. Well,
oh, no, it's not quite back yet, huh?
No.
I'm
just
ridiculous.
watching it.
We're watching the tick.
Yeah, we got a show timer, ladies and gentlemen, that we have to use
Yes.
to correspond to the breaks that are on the networks. So.
And normally this would be the Poltergeist.
Yeah, this would be the Poltergeist intro, which is a lovely piece, if I do say so myself. Renee is saying that Don, is that a Malevolent Creation Satyricon or Necrophagia t-shirt?
No, this is my yellow goat shirt again.
We're almost there. Coming. I can't remember how long the bumper is for this intro for the hour, but almost. But they can't have any more. Tangina. I can hear something in the background.
Yeah, but that's because I turned on.
Oh, so you can hear the feed. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. And, of course, I am joined by my good friend and co-host, Mr. Don Longbeard.
Hopefully I'm still here.
Yes. No. Nate just messaged me and said, dead there? No, we're not dead. Not dead yet.
Not dead yet.
Bring out your dead. I'm not dead yet.
I'm not dead yet.
We'll get on with it.
What is it? Oh, yeah. We were playing with the boffer swords the other day.
Oh.
Come back here. It's only a flesh wound.
Yeah, that's
I'll
right.
bite your kneecaps off.
That's right, the Black Knight. Classic. Yeah.
Oh,
Huh. The default music was playing at the beginning, no intro. I don't know what Nace is talking about. I don't know, I'm confused.
that's okay.
I can't, of course, answer him directly, but I'm answering him on the air. So, hope you guys are doing great. Thanks for being here with the show. And we are doing listener questions, or listener emails tonight.
Yeah.
And we've had some great ones. And right now we're going to get into a longer one. This is actually an excerpt from Sean, who has been on the show, his blog. And so I want to share that with you right now, ladies and gentlemen. So, and it's quite a... It's quite a read. So we'll get through at least a good chunk of it here if we can. So let me get started here. It's titled A Life Slightly Different. My life has been turned upside down and backwards many times. So many times, in fact, that I wonder why the twists seem to take the shape that it has so repetitively. With the last several years culminating in several life changes that started when I was a child, introspection set in and I began to really sift through the years seeking answers, or at the very least, some kind of clues. Nearly going blind will do that to you. Nearly dying several times didn't seem to be the ticket. But those are the tales from another time. Sorry. The differences in my life from others I know has been so dramatic that in the growing darkness of my sight, I began to try to piece together something. Was I always different, or was the difference pushed into me? Or was I always different and then made more so? Going back into my memories, and the differences begin right away. No one else I know can remember their first steps, getting diapers changed, the distaste for the feel of plastic pants over their underpants, as when they are potty trained. The first feel and silence of being set in a depression of snow at 10 or 11 months. I could read well before entering kindergarten because my mother's teachings, since she labeled everything and the name of the thing in our shared bedroom, even my crib. Yes, I can clearly remember these times, even the abuses my parents and elder siblings sent my way. Though those didn't ramp up in intensity until after I was back home and turned 6 years old. Forgive me, I'm getting slightly ahead of myself, but with reason, as you'll eventually read. Oh, and my blindness that I avoided, which you've obviously been asking, or you've doubtlessly been asking yourself about, trauma-induced cataracts from the concussive impacts to my head from beatings and car accidents. No, not when I was driving. These happened when I was a child and before the law and normal use of seatbelts stepped in to protect us from ourselves and our parents. Now, needless to say, this is all completely true. I know you will all wonder if this is the case. If it's true, can I provide you with as much documentation as you'll need that won't be compromising, etc.? I could, but that would make my life somewhat less private. But the information is available. Even my doctor's information on the implants in my eyes, so I can see, can be screenshot and put up if you need convincing. But why am I telling you these things about my vision? Simply, really, something didn't like the idea that I could see them, really see them. As I'm a child of two nations born in the U.S., this means a large amount of cultural background goes into the sum of my parts. With a Cuban father and a mother from England, you can see what an amazing contrast there would be between the two parts of my family. The differences are so vast, with one half of the family being very spiritual, Santeria being a large part of the religious makeup of the Cuban side, and the other is the Celtic influence of my mother's family, with deep ties to old faiths and of the islands and of the United Kingdom, all the way back to the old religions of pagan and druids. As a baby, I knew how protected I was. I never knew how protected I was by my tias, that's aunts in Spanish, and their diligence to keep the house we lived in safe from the other world they knew was there and feared. Terrifically, in fact. Constant blessings, uses of camphor, holy water, and cleansing with incense happened all the time. These kept my dreams untroubled, and I feared the dark only because I could not see. Eventually we moved, and the home I would grow up in did not have any of those benefits. I began to see things in the darkness most easily. Aside from feeling these things when I was near something spiritually active, at a distance I could see things too. See what? Indistinct shapes, swirling patterns of movement as of fog or ether, and something causing eddies in it just out of sight. But sometimes I saw more, much more. Take, for example, my Tio Mickey and his wife, my Tia Olga. As a little child, we'd go there all the time because Tia Olga was my godmother. Her mother, forgive me, I do not recall her name, lived with them and had her own room. She was very old and not in the best of health, but she had an aura about her that said she was kindly and wished she could do more. When my brother, sister, and I came to visit, then just to sit in her room or lie in bed. Sometimes she was too exhausted to get out of bed, and we had to play quietly on the other side of the house on the covered porch. I had a habit of wandering off and going places I was not told not to go, following feelings that seemed to draw me on that were tied to my gut around the level of the diaphragm. In fact, sometimes I would wander blocks away from home or to parks, scaring my family silly. I would go to Tia Olga's mother's room and as I'd walk in, a man standing next to her bed would look up and smile most of the time. My memory of him is hazy now as it is of her, but I remember dark but warm eyes, steely gray hair swept back and slicked down to keep it neat with a light blue Gaiabera, whatever that is, I'm not sure, but it was thick in the upper body, muscular, but not overly, so I couldn't see his lower body since he was on the opposite side of the bed. She would not look away from him to me, following his gaze to see me standing in the doorway. "Hola, señora," I said. "Aye," my Tio Mickey would say from the up the hallway to get my attention, and I turned to look at him as he and his big dog Duke came towards me. I looked back to apologize for bothering her, my mother's demand for proper English manners, you see, and the man was gone. There was no place for him to go, I should point out, and no one else lived there since my cousin Michael had moved out some years before. Keep in mind, I think these events happened when I was 4. I'm pretty sure of it, as my cousin's wedding had been the year before this when I was 3. No one could ever tell me who that was. No one wanted to even mention it. The fact is, it only started whispers between adults about the events, fearful whispers, whispered discussions amongst them. discussions I was not allowed to even think of eavesdropping on. It wasn't long after this that my tia Olga's mother passed on. I never found out who the man was in the room with her, but I'm assuming it was someone very close to her, for the simple fact I never felt menaced by what I saw, and the room felt brighter after she passed, as if her illness or frail body had trapped her light. And once it was free, the room fairly scintillated from its passing touch. Funny to think that years later, when I brought my girlfriend, whom would eventually become my wife, to visit Tia Olga in her sickbed, that it was in that very room. No, she was not there looking over her daughter, but the room was still bright and with the light she left behind. A parting gift to ease her daughter's pains. I'm going to blow this up a little bit. It's gotten a little real rough. I got to scroll now, because when you blow it up, it changes. Oh, there it is. Okay. Not all I saw was friendly. As I'm certain you're wondering at this point, if everything I saw was benevolent or kindly. As I'd said before, the protection afforded us was lost when we moved, as my mother never let my aunts do their ministrations again. We were given these tiny bags with a bead and a rosary medallion inside to wear under our clothes, against our skin, pinned to our clothing with safety pins to ward off evil. Because of the thing I mentioned, and a considerable many more brevity doesn't allow me to mention, I was given one more than my brother and sister. One of my patron saint, Joan of Arc. No, I'm not a female, but there is no Saint Sean. That's my name, by the way, Sean. Same spelling as Sean Connery, for whom I was told jokingly or not to be named after. Joan in French, she was French after all, is Jean. That's pronounced the same way as Jean of Jean-Luc Picard fame, for the Star Trek nerds amongst you, which you can easily hear sounds a lot like Sean, a name that none of my Cuban relations could easily say except my cousin, who was raised in the U.S. Forgive me for all this preface, but I thought I'd give you some idea of the events that in history before the big event. My mother's relations had come to visit us singly or in combinations for a little while, and I do believe I even got to see my great aunt Lily more than once in the U.S. My mother's father, granddad, had been setting aside money since she left home to have her come home, either to stay or for a visit. And this money he'd made from quitting smoking, rather. Funny enough, he'd been saving so long that the amount had grown high enough for us all to come visit them over the summer. My father had to work, so he couldn't come with us. His job was very demanding. Our talismans given to us by the Cuban side of the family were not allowed to come with us and remain in a box back home, rather. Despite loud protestations, my mother was most insistent on that, as she was embarrassed by them. We got our passports in June of the year Star Wars 4: A New Hope came out, so we were literally flying to the UK less than a month after its initial release, and I had to miss the phenomenon of the summer that was 1977. But its impact was felt all over England in merchandising that tantalized me, sorry, in the form of bubblegum cards and stills from the movie on them. My time in England was, to put it lightly, not boring. Why, you might ask? Whether it was walking everywhere or taking buses or trains, we were dragged to every moor, castle, monument, palace, and place of interest my mother could think of to see. This, in direct contrast to the part of Los Angeles where we'd lived, requires a car and a long trip to get anywhere meaningful. It was a shock to say, at the very least about it, one can say. All of this while traveling between the homes of my granddad and Annie, that's my grandmother if you hadn't guessed, my Aunt Sonia and my Aunt Celia in various parts around England. From Heathrow, were driven out from the city to my Aunt Sonia's home and outfitted the next day with, I don't know what this word is, cagoolies, Cagoules, and wellies. I don't know what cagules are or cagules are. For anyone not familiar, those are rainproof jackets that cover the thigh and waterproof calf height rubber boots.
Oh, there you go.
Well, thanks for that. Now I know what I'm reading. For you see, we had been impelled to come because that year, since the previous 2 years, had been a drought, and rain had been scarce. But in 1977 was the end of the drought, and we saw 3 sunny days all summer long as nature dumped 3 years' worth of water back on England to make up for her laxness. Sonia's home was new, and the neighborhood she and her family lived was newly urbanized portions of North London that once had just been rolling hills and forests. I slept well there, felt nothing, and nothing ever happened. The same could not be said for Celia's or my grandparents' homes. Celia had an old home, and it was far more than a century old, with much history and a portion of England known for minor nobles living and dying nearby in their mansions. My grandparents' flat was in the middle of a rebuilt portion of London in an area that had been annihilated during the bombings of London. Well, when we first went to stay with Celia, it was a bit of a shock. Upon first stepping through the front door and removing my wellies, I noticed the air was thick and cold. To the left of the large door was a toilet behind a closed door, under a large staircase with a banister. My eyes were drawn to it as we were led inside by my aunt. Distracted with talking to my mother about her coming wedding, another reason for our presence, so my mother could be there for her younger sister's wedding. I'm sorry, I probably didn't read that right, but yeah, to the younger sister's wedding. The cold stopped as we got to the third stair and turned right on the small landing and proceeded up the stairs. Now the air was just thick and unwelcoming. We were shown to our room we'd be sleeping in. We're children. It was across the hall from Celia's room and next to my mother's room. I kept looking at the door to my aunt's room, and a pulsing sensation in my ears and pressing in my chest. So distracted was I that I didn't even notice I was being asked something by my mother as she ushered me into our room to unpack. Celia smiled at me as she opened the door to her room. Something about getting into her regular clothing now that she was not traveling anymore that day. I looked past her into the room with eyes wide and the feeling of dread growing. She saw my curiosity. "What is it, Sean?" she asked, as she looked over over her shoulder into the room. Past her, I could see her bed and nothing else. I looked back at her and as she entered the room and then walked out of sight to the right towards what I would later learn was the walk-in closet. Doing this, she crossed my view of the bed, and then when it was clear again, I saw something that chilled me to the marrow, and pressure came back enough to make me gasp. There in the bed now sat an old woman in a sleeping cap and nightgown that looked like something from the 18th century. Her hair was gray and tied up into a cap. Her skin was parched and wrinkled, but she couldn't have been older than 70. I apologize. I cannot be more descriptive than that. Not only was it 4 decades ago, but I was terrified. As I write this, the terror is fresh in my breast and my heart is hammering just as it did then. The woman was sitting in the bed looking in the direction that Celia had walked out of my field of view. Then slowly she turned to look at the doorway. It seemed at the time she was turning her head at the sound of my gasp. Her eyes were angry, unwelcoming, and accusing of some misdeed I was being blamed for. I've included a link to something vaguely similar to what I saw. Keep in mind it's not the same, but I can give you a rough impression of what I saw. I don't see the link, but at the moment my sister and mother walked past, breaking my line of sight as they walked past to go downstairs to get the rest of the suitcases to unpack, I stood frozen, my brother asking me what was wrong as they walked by. After they passed, the old woman was nowhere to be seen. I told no adult nor my sister, as I remembered the response seeing things like this had gotten me in the past at home. I confided in my brother only, and he'd told me that he hadn't seen anything. He proceeded to tell my mother and sister all about it. All about what I'd said, and all the future events. And yes, she looked real, like any person you see on the street looks, solid and alive. That's how a great deal of spirits I see look, or so I have learned. They appear as they did in life, rarely as how they died, unless it was violent or traumatic. This was something I would learn much later, but I mention it here in case you're wondering. Needless to say, I always kept my eyes averted to her room so I'd never see that woman again, even refusing to use the upstairs bathroom, as I'd have to pass her and risk seeing her again. My grandparents' flat had no oppressive feeling to it, but there was a ghost all the same. A figure would walk into the bedroom where my brother and I slept, look around, and then leave. He was dressed in a strange helmet shaped like a brimmed soup bowl, with a chin strap and a strange heavy jacket and leather buckles that looked water resistant, and I could never see his feet, as it was always too dark in the room. As the men entered, he always seemed to bring light with him, as if he glowed mildly. Otherwise, I would not have been able to see much of him in the pitch dark of the middle of the night. I have no idea if I woke each time he came, but when I did awake, it was usually prefaced by the feeling that I thought my mother had just walked in to check up on my brother and I, which she did now and again. I'm including a link to the picture of what the man looked like, that walked through the home at night looked like. So it looks like a World War I kind of outfit. Yeah, World War I military outfit from England. One thing I forgot to mention was my mother's morbidity when it came to graveyards. She has been tracing our family tree for ages, and this meant we were usually dragged to find headstones with her maiden name on them. One particular graveyard near my granddad's flat was apparently where my great-grandparents were buried. This graveyard was never empty of people walking through it, and looking around, we'd be there many times clearing the weeds and bracken from the shared grave of my great-grandparents, and placing flowers before I asked my mother why so many people were milling about. Her answer was, "I don't know, Sean. What people?" She asked as she looked around, finally paying attention to what I asked her. As the youngest in my family, I'm rarely listened to, and almost everything I said was dismissed or outright ignored. Never before had I wished my mother had ignored my question. Very wild. I looked up at all the people who were walking amongst the graves and pointed at them. Specifically, I pointed at a girl with reddish hair and tied up in a pink ribbon that was wearing a light sweater and a dress that came to her knees. Remember when I said we saw 3 sunny days that summer in England? This was not one of them. We were in our rain gear, and this girl and all the others were not. They were all in different attire. Some looked dressy, such as suits and dresses, while others were dressed casually. Some looked like they were dressed in the current clothing styles. Some were considerably older. I had not noticed it before that moment. Further, not a single one of them even had an umbrella or rain gear of any note to ward off the pattering rain. I could hear making noises against the plastic kaguli hood. Kaguli? Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce that. But and though the rain was not falling heavily, it was falling around us sufficiently to turn a sweater completely sodden in minutes. Suddenly, breathless, I realized 2 things. Ghosts can appear in the daylight outside, something as a child I'd assumed was a safe time, and I would not have to worry about running into these things I was quickly becoming terrified of, and these ghosts had suddenly become aware of me, all of them. As if they were discomfited at scaring me, they all turned to look at me with impassive expressions on their faces, except the girl I pointed at, and then each of them turned away and faded from sight. It was almost as if they had pulled a screen in front of themselves or stepped from one room into another by changing the focus of their attention. The girl with the reddish hair and the pink ribbon, she didn't disappear. Instead, she smiled and stayed fairly close, listening to our conversations and watching all in a completely non-threatening manner. No one seemed to notice her or see her throughout our time there, which I was eager to cut as short as possible. Threatening or not, I was leery of her and unwilling to let her close, always keeping my mother between us. I have no idea who she was, and I was too scared to find out or even try to talk to her. Just 2 things I must mention about this graveyard, not directly related to the ghosts or spirits I saw there. Firstly, the church had stood before it was where my Aunt Celia was married that summer. Second, this is where my granddad was buried when he died of a massive heart attack in his flat in August, just after my mother's birthday. And no, I never saw him again. His spirit, despite staying in the flat many more days, never came to me, nor, might I add, did the man in the helmet ever appear to me again. So this is an incredibly interesting and detailed account of Sean's journey, and I would recommend you guys read it if you get the chance. But unfortunately, that's about all the time I'll be able to give it here on the show. So we'll put links in the chat rooms, the YouTube chat, and the chat in TFR Live as well. So we're going to go to our break, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go away. We'll be back for the last half hour of the show in just a few minutes.
Wow.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, for the last half hour of our show tonight. And hope you've been enjoying it. But thank you again to all of you who have submitted your stories and your encounters and your experiences, because I just find those so incredibly powerful and fascinating. And it's just really great it's an honor to have an opportunity to share your experiences with our audience. So thank you guys. And if any of the rest of you out there have experiences you'd like to share, again, please email them to paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. We would be thrilled to see what's going on in your world. Yeah, it's already the last half hour, Don. See how fast it goes?
Yep.
Just saying, it's a time warp. But as you can also tell, ladies and gentlemen, my monitors have not freaked out.
Well, you did do a little, may the power of Christ compel you, so, you know.
I know.
It was like, I did it a couple of times. Well, okay, never mind.
It's never been that belligerent before. It was just hilarious.
That was awesome.
Like, oh my God, that's so crazy. But it's all fair game here on the portal, ladies and gentlemen. It's a show about paranormal, so it only makes sense. We might actually inadvertently be conjuring some stuff as we go. But it's never the intention of the show. Not that I know of anyway. But it is what it is. So we are on the last 24 minutes of the show.
Wow.
So are you doing okay, Don?
Yeah, okay here.
Okay, I'm doing okay too, in case you were wondering.
Well, of course I was wondering. And I know you were like reading my mind, like the blank book that it is.
Yeah, the blank slate that it is. It's not at all. You've got a very complex mind.
Yes.
Huh.
Uh-huh.
So.
Why? Thank you.
All right, so we're going to get to just a couple of tales that I've also found, because I promised a few ghostly encounters as well as our listener emails. And some of our listener emails were some incredible spiritual encounters.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's just story time here on the portal. So
It's the old portal style, original portal.
this is like
There you
retro portal, ladies and gentlemen. I should probably mention some of the upcoming shows. On the 13th, ladies and gentlemen, we will be rejoined by Linda Godfrey, who will be back on to talk about more of the dogmen and other phenomena that she's been tracking in the Wisconsin area. And if you haven't seen the last episode she was on, it was really amazing, and I was absolutely honored because she shared with us some trail cam shots, and her co-investigator Lee Hempel was on as well, and they had these amazing experiences that may or may not have to do directly with the dogman phenomena, but they are just some really amazing things that had happened there. And I would encourage you to go back and check out that episode if you haven't seen it. Some really, really bizarre trail cam photos and some amazing stories that they've shared with us about what's happened there in their investigations. So definitely check it out. But she will be back on the 13th. So far, I've got oh shoot. Sorry, dude. I just nerfed
It's
your
okay.
camera.
It's all right.
Now you can see the portal ceiling.
Got nerfed.
Got-
Welcome to the studio. Hey.
Yeah.
Oh, my back? Hey, I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah, you're getting good at aiming that.
Stupid thing.
That's your virtual studio tour for free of charge, ladies and gentlemen. We're just working at increasing the offerings here on the portal.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Yeah.
trying to make it a more
Interactive.
interactive, yeah. So, and then we got on the 18th, I'm going to appear on the Geeks Paranormal on their show.
You are?
Yeah, I'm going to be doing it at 6 p.m. And then, of course, we got our show right at 7. So it's going to be a whiplash kind of night. That'll be Wednesday the 18th. And then Deb Varner will be joining us on July 20th. And then July 21st, Deb Varner, of course, is our psychic. She'll be doing call-in readings on the show, which are always a blast, and she does an amazing job. Just phenomenal. So we're looking forward to that. And then on the 21st, as so far as I know, and this was, we were going to revisit the idea when we got a little closer, but we're looking on the 21st to having Brooks Agnew back and get into more of his science of the paranormal, which has been an excellent series and some just a breathtaking. I can't encourage you guys to listen to the episodes
They were awesome.
They were just, I can't encourage you enough is what I'm trying to say. The insights and the correlations he's making to phenomena and beliefs with actual physics and science is just breathtaking. We on this last appearance we discussed Hollow Earth.
Yep.
And he's got some information, ladies and gentlemen, that really corroborates the whole idea that there could very well be a hollow earth. And in fact, at the very least, he's absolutely certain there's an ocean inside the crust of the earth. And I've actually heard that from a few other sources too, about catching ocean vibrations through seismographs that are sprinkled all over the globe.
Yeah, but the weird thing is that the one he was specifically talking about was an ocean under the Atlantic Ocean.
Right, so it's like it's detecting crashing waves underneath the crust. So
under the ocean.
Yeah, under the
craziness.
Ocean. Yeah,
Craziness.
So like on the other side of it. And he also talks about the physics of how it could be possible.
Right.
And it's just amazing, and including how there could be photosynthesis inside of the core, inside of the earth. Right. So just amazing stuff.
The necessary things for life. Right,
exactly. I mean, all the building blocks are there, and it just be, another possibility of life here on our wonderful marble. So that's going to be on the 21st, ladies and gentlemen. Now, after that, I'm going to be going back to Minnesota because I've got my father's memorial celebration is going to be going on that following weekend. So probably not going to be a portal for that week, but we'll let you know when we get that ironed out a little more. We're discussing some possibilities, but I don't think I can remote in from out there and do it, but if it's possible, we may very well do that. So we'll let you know as we get closer, but that's the lineup as we have it now. I've got some other shows that I'm trying to nail down for those other dates that are still open, but really it's another incredible month with some amazing participation, some amazing guests coming up. So definitely keep tuned in.
Definitely.
Because we'll keep bringing you all the entertainment we know how to give you. And so let's get to one of these stories. All right. Possible paranormal experience. Should I be concerned? Please excuse any mistakes as I'm a bit shaken up and I'm using my phone to write this. 2 days ago, I went to the local thrift store to find some home decor. How many times have we talked about that, Don?
Dragging things home. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Just put that in a box. I'll take it right now.
Yep. I've had luck in the past of finding great pieces of art and other things for amazing prices, and I was hoping to do the same that day. While shopping around, a couple of baby play toys caught my eye. I have an almost 1-year-old daughter, and I'm usually wary of buying things for her from a used store since I don't know where they've been and what type of bacteria or germs may be present, but these toys look brand new. One was a learning cube type of thing with no electronic components. I haven't had any issues with it, and the other was an interactive toy that plays music and sings the alphabet when you push different buttons. Mm-hmm. I wiped both toys down and let them dry off completely before letting my little one play with them. She loved the interactive one and wasn't quite as interested in the cube. Yesterday evening, we brought the interactive one into our room so she could play in there, and everything was normal, nothing out of the ordinary. Fast forward to last night, my husband works the graveyard shift but was off last night. Because he's used to staying up overnight for work, he usually hangs out in the family room watching TV or something or doing something while I sleep in our room with our baby. So it was just her and I in the room. We both get woken up by the toy randomly going off and playing music. I've never had any of her toys do this, so it was very strange. I stayed in bed while it finished its song, and a minute or two later, it played another short song and then said goodbye. This is usually what it does if no one pushes any buttons for a few minutes, and it turns itself off. It was really weird and a little unnerving, but I just tried to brush it off and go back to sleep. Well, about 10 minutes later, it starts up again. It is now really freaking me out, so I jump out of bed and turn it off completely. Then push it to the side of the room. I get back into bed and fall asleep. And in my dream, I was in the bedroom, it was dark, and I was terrified. I woke up and went to get my husband so he could lay down with me, and I searched the house. He's nowhere to be found. I still feel terrified, and it's very dark in the whole house. Then I realize I haven't woken up, and I'm still dreaming. Once I realize this, I actually woke up. I get out of bed even more scared and go to find my husband. I yell for him a few times and find him outside on the porch saying he couldn't hear me yelling. Then I realize again that I haven't actually woken up. I'm still dreaming. Once again, when I realize this, I actually do wake up. Same situation plays out maybe 5 times.
Weird.
That's really weird. I've had dreams where I thought I woke up but was actually still dreaming before, but not like these. The fear was so intense, when I finally woke up for real, I went and grabbed my husband and he laid down with me. I fell back asleep and didn't have anything else happen. When we all got up this morning, I told my husband what had happened, and he immediately took this toy outside and put it in the trash. I've never had a paranormal experience before and think I just had my first. What could this have been? And should I be worried about it happening again?
Well, you know my comments on electronic toys.
Yeah, it's hardly conclusive because, I mean, things can go awry with electronics. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the TV situation,
Mm-hmm.
my TV situation specifically, but,
Yeah. No,
I mean, just, the random on and offs, random, Now, Alexas are a different thing, they'll just bust out laughing or read the local obituaries to you, just for fun. I don't know why.
Mine has never done that.
D, I was talking to D one night, we were chatting, and she says, yeah, I think it was D that told me this, but she said hers started reading off like funeral homes in her area, just out of the blue.
Well, that's creepy as hell.
Yeah, well, yeah. And then somebody I was talking to at work said, yeah, I was he was doing something, and all of a sudden on his Facebook things just started popping up. Well, suggestions, maybe you should check out this, maybe you should check out that. I said, well, that's just NSA listening in.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, what do you want, Come on. But yeah, the one about the Alexa reading funeral homes, that's kind of scary.
That is really scary. That's creepy. Mine's been really pretty mundane. Now I haven't had internet for several days, but
maybe she'll be mad about it. Hey, Brent, you forgot about me.
Why have you ignored me? Here's the obituaries. Don't shut me off again.
Don't do it.
No, that is odd. I don't know. Is it possible they could be catching electronic voice phenomenon on Alexa? Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if it registers.
Oh, that'd be scary.
Right. So is there somebody there listening and figuring out what you're doing, and they want to do it too? Right. I mean, seriously, it's a speech recognition program. That's what it is.
Right.
And if the speech can be heard, Alexa will respond as long as you start it with Alexa. So you can say, Alexa, anything. Alexa, tell me a joke. Alexa, insult me. Alexa, what's the weather? Alexa, play, whatever song.
Alexa, are you connected to the CIA?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can see those videos out there, and I think they've updated that so it doesn't happen anymore. But yeah, very strangeness for sure.
Huh.
But mine hasn't done anything weird yet, so I'm good.
Yeah, well, I don't need one.
Oh, geez. This sounds horrible. Let's read this one. My wife died in my arms, then it started.
Wow.
Oh, this is so tragic. All right. My first wife was very sick with cancer. She fought it for nearly 3 years, and finally, after some 30 bouts of chemo and all the sickness that comes with that barbaric treatment, decided to give up. We had decided to let her die in our home, surrounded by her family, and not in some distant hospice surrounded by strangers and visited by family and solemn rituals. I took time off from work in the final days, and the whole family chipped in to be there when she left this world. I'm an atheist. My wife was Catholic and rather religious. She took our children to church each Sunday. As I was raised Catholic, I didn't care. It didn't kill me. I wouldn't kill them. She began to say, I'll give you a sign when I'm gone. I would say jokingly, yeah, right, better give me the lotto number. Despite her illness and impending doom, she was a real trooper and kept her composure the whole time. She was an amazing woman. One of her favorite aunts came to help us towards the end of her life. She stayed in our finished basement bedroom. As the end got nearer, we took turns with the injections and care of my wife. Every 4 hours, morphine along with other drugs, mostly to alleviate pain and nausea. Twice she tried to accelerate it with a massive dose of morphine. Twice it didn't work. So we were committed to going the distance. It was a truly awful time in everyone's life. Then the final day came. It was very odd indeed. My wife had an old Sony Ericsson mobile phone that she liked, as it was tiny and simple. We had left it plugged in for months, just so it wouldn't beep with that annoying low battery tone. Nobody called, as they all knew. The morning she died, suddenly the alarm on her phone went off and woke me up at 6 a.m. I was furious, as I was up until 4 giving her morphine. Nobody was in the room but me and the aunt, but then I thought that the aunt had set the alarm for some unknown reason. She calmly called and asked if she had set the alarm on Jane's phone. She said she had not, but would come right up. She raced up the stairs, and I told her that somehow the phone alarm had went off and woke me up, but look, something is happening. Her breathing was labored now, and we could see her chest rising and falling with rattling sound. They call this the death rattle, and I understand it's common. Her aunt said, "That's a sign." I said, "BS, if that's a sign, give me another sign and I'll believe it." No sooner had I said that when the aunt's phone alarm went off. Curious, so I shut up, and the aunt suggested we sit with her for a bit to see what was happening. With her favorite aunt holding one hand and me holding the other, she died within the hour. At her last breath, I felt a slap/shock on my arm, and immediately shouted to the aunt, "Did you feel that?" She felt nothing. There was nobody to hit my arm, as my wife was paralyzed for weeks already, and I was wide awake watching everything. Not long after, all kinds of bizarre things would happen around my house. One night I was up till 3 in the very bedroom where I'd also had my work desk. Suddenly a guitar that was behind me on a stand just fell over and hit me. More things began to happen and continued until I moved out of the house. Not long after I began dating, well, after all, I had some 3 years without sexual relations. Okay. The first night I got lucky with in a town about an hour away with my my cell phone rang. It was my teenage son calling, terrified that doors were slamming in the house. I told him it was the wind and go back to sleep. He called an hour later telling me that the cabinets in the kitchen were slamming. I came home to find him terrified and alone in the house with all the lights on, the alarm on the lower floors, and cowering wide-eyed in his room. There followed too many such things to list in one place. The girlfriend later moved in, and she was like a magnet for this phenomena. She actually saw my wife sitting in a chair looking at her. Doors would open and close, light bulbs would all pop off when she touched a switch. The oddest thing was one night I woke up suddenly and saw an old woman standing by my bed facing in my direction. It was not my wife, but an older, heavier woman, not obese, with long, stringy gray hair. The odd thing was she had no face. I sat up looking at her, expecting her to fade away, but she did not. I turned my head and looked the other way, and looked back, expecting her to be gone. She was still there, and not going away. I tried again. This time when I looked back, she was gone. Another time the cleaning lady got locked in the basement. A guest heard shuffling footsteps. Some other occurrences. A box of pots and pans would move when I walked by. My girlfriend had the same problem. A chandelier moved when my girlfriend was looking at it. I heard someone in the kitchen moving things around, and when I went there, nobody was in there. All the doors in the house opened right after they were closed. I heard her call me on 2 occasions. Electrical problems abounded. Lights turned themselves off once via the switch, which terrified a lady guest. Everyone who stayed in the house heard or saw something, except for my oldest son, who thinks we're all mad. I've had a long lifetime of other experiences, but never in that house prior to the death of my wife. I never did get a lotto number. Well, you can't have it all, buddy. That's some... I don't know what to think of that. It's like, why is she lingering? And why would she terrify her own child?
Well, yeah, and then, yeah, I mean, why? That makes no sense.
That's just not right. I mean, I can understand maybe she's upset that he's moving on or whatever, but...
It's got nothing to do with the child.
Yeah, why torment a child?
But we're assuming.
Well,
we're
sure.
Assuming.
We're assuming it's real, first of all.
True.
But we have, I mean, I don't know. And we're assuming it's the wife, but maybe it isn't. Maybe it's just something drawn by all the psychic energy of somebody dying of cancer. I don't know. Yeah.
But they moved out of that house.
Yeah, eventually. And I don't know when, in contrast to the story, but
Right.
yeah, very strange. Very strange stuff, ladies and gentlemen. My only paranormal experience. When I was probably 8 or 9 years old, I had an intense paranormal experience. I'm 26 now, about to turn 27. I live in an old house built in 1932, small town. My family had some friends over for a cookout, and I found myself having to entertain the company's son. He was a year or so younger than me. It was a 3-story house with an intricate attic that is hard to explain. You can access the attic space in 3 different rooms by either ladder or doors. Definitely an awesome house for a kid with an imagination to play in. Anyways, at the time I had absolutely no belief in paranormal activity, probably because my folks raised me not to believe in ghosts, and that was all a silly idea. Still, I knew my house definitely had a creepy vibe, and I thought it would be fun to scare the younger company I was entertaining. I lied to him, laughing the whole time, telling him that, yeah, my house is haunted, and was going to take him into the attic to explore. I was cocky because I didn't believe in the paranormal. I really talked up a scary vibe to him and was trying to scare him. Obviously, I remember saying stuff like, the previous owner died up here working in the attic. It was a total lie, but like I said, I was trying to scare him. We slowly walked into a room we could access the attic in by ladder. We used this room as storage, and there was one of those old school antique mirrors that can swing or flip in circles. I swear to God, when I opened the door, there was a man in the reflection of the mirror hanging by a rope with a bloody face and eyes bulging. I went from being a cocky kid to being scared as hell. Crying like a baby, knocking the kid over, running downstairs to my parents. It pissed me off as well because my folks didn't believe me at all and said it was my imagination. I knew it was not my imagination. I wasn't scared right before I saw the mirror. I was the one scaring, and they just couldn't grasp that. This was frustrating but enlightening experience. I believe I accidentally conjured a spirit or something. I don't know. To this day, it still screws me up. Again, you get to the idea that is the person he's with, their fear, their anxiety, generating a reality to the narrative. There's so many stories like this out there, and again, I can't pretend to know whether they're real or not, but if they are real, and you do, if you believe or can believe that we can manifest reality on a very fundamental level, energetically so, then do these experiences create experiences?
That'd be an experience.
But you know what I'm saying, right? It's like
right.
the kid built up this narrative, created a reality. The other kid's anxiety and fear, but not wanting to not be cool.
Right.
He went along with it, but his heart must have been racing the whole way. Like, I don't want to see anything. I don't want to see anything. And did that create enough energy
to
manifest that whole narration, and give it a reality?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if the house stayed haunted after that, or if it was just a one-off kind of thing. I don't know.
Well, maybe it was the energy that kid that he was trying to scare, brought the manifestation on.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the kid who was trying to scare him, he didn't have any anxiety. He was just creating this narrative that was funny to him.
Yeah.
But
Gotcha.
it was real for the other kid, because he didn't know the first kid was lying.
Right.
So yeah, very strange.
Hey, check the email.
Check the email.
Yeah, see if there's another email in there.
Oh,
Julia says she sent one.
oh really? Well, we only got no, I don't see it. Well, let me refresh.
Dun, dun, dun,
Oh,
dun,
there
dun,
it is. Yep. Oh,
Oh, what is that?
are these the ones you saw on the 4th?
Oh.
No, that's quite
That's
a bit
weird.
different.
Did you take that picture, Julia?
That is strange.
Huh.
The ones I saw actually evaporated, and they were. I don't know how high up this is, but they didn't have this.
Curly Q. Yeah, it looks like a...
Let me put this over here so we
That
can
is
share
weird.
it with at least with the YouTube crowd. Oh, what the hell? Microsoft. Ugh. Let me switch. I guess we can do this. We're actually
Oh,
done, ladies and
wow.
gentlemen. This is the picture. I guess it's not working.
Nope.
Oh, there it is. But stick around for Jimmy Jean Into the Microcosm coming up next. We love y'all. We'll be back tomorrow night for more of the Paranormal Portal. So, I don't know. Great to be back. Great to have a connection. And we'll see you tomorrow night at the same time. Take care.
Truth Freak.